So we're thinking today about the learning resources that we can use when we're doing oral health promotion. And we've had a think already about the methods you can use. But now we're thinking more specifically about the aids that you can use within those methods to help with your delivery. So it's not so much about whether you're doing a lecture or whether you're doing an online format. It's more about specifically what you can use within those brackets to help you do that. So you'll find that the things we're going to talk about in this session may be suitable for multiple different methods, or you may want to use multiple learning resources within your one chosen method. And it'll all depend on your audience and thinking back to your needs assessment as to how you can plan your learning resources. So the learning outcomes overall for this session are quite varied, and some of them I've asked you to look at in other formats. So the first one, thinking about the FOG index, I've put a link on Blackboard for you to follow that, and that's really important if you're thinking of using something in a Word format. Secondly, I've asked you to investigate what's available from your health promotion departments. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, I can't reiterate enough how important it is to use what's available to you. Don't be trying to produce wonderful, beautiful resources if there's something already there. And that goes not only for your oral health promotion in general, but also for this assessment that you're going to do when you're looking to go out to these two different target audiences to deliver OHP. You're not expected to create amazing posters or go and buy materials. These things are there already. You may want to make slight adaptations, or if there's something really specific you want to talk about, produce something for that. But as a whole, use what's available to you. So I've provided you with the contact details for your local health or oral health promotion departments, and I want you to have a discussion with them about what they can help you with. Similarly, look at what you can find online. Again, you just don't need to make stuff when it's all there already. Just be wary of copyright legislation and that you have permission to use things. If it's been produced by a big oral health promotion agency, somebody like the Dental Public Health Foundation, it will either be available for a free download or you'll have to pay for it. So it's quite clear then that you're able to use it. If you're just finding images and things off a website, just make sure they are available in the public domain. And there is an option when you're doing a Google Images search to check for things that have copyright on them and things that don't. In terms of mass media, I've provided you with just a short PDF on Blackboard to talk about that, to think about the big campaigns that are available, that are ongoing or historical in the past. But what I want to focus on in this video is a variety of different learning resources, and this list is by no means exhaustive. You may find something else that you think is suitable, that's also fine, but I've just kind of running through the most common ones that you might be thinking about using. So let's talk about something we all know really well then, a PowerPoint presentation or something similar. You do get different versions, but basically a slide presentation that you use in an electronic format. The great advantage of using PowerPoint is, first of all, it's a really easily accessible thing for everybody to use. It comes as standard in Microsoft Office. So it's there, everybody's got it. And you can be super prepared. You can have each slide there ready to go, and it's useful not only for the audience watching it, but also for you as the presenter. It's kind of like your notes and your learning resources all in one go. And it is really good from that point of view. It's particularly if you're nervous or if you're doing something you've not done before, it's there to guide you through and you know what's coming. It's really predictable. You can make it look very attractive and you can have a nice logical progression from slide to slide. It kind of helps you stick to your lesson plan in that way, and that each slide is continuing on from the last and moving on to new subjects, so you don't go off on big huge tangents. And depending on the subject you're talking about, particularly if it's something you're quite enthusiastic about, it can be quite easy to edge off and lose sight of your lesson plan, whereas you can base your PowerPoint very much on your lesson plan. You can also produce handouts with them. So if you're going to speak face to face to a group and they're all going to be in the room, you can provide them with a printed handout, or even convert the handout into a PDF format and then you can email it on to people if they need it. So from that point of view, it's a really useful resource, and one that has been used a lot and for a long time, and for good reason. You know, it works well in that format. There are, however, some distinctive downsides to using PowerPoint or something like it, and it's also not suitable for all audiences. So obviously, I mean, if you're speaking to a group of really young children, a PowerPoint's probably not going to be for them, unless you're just using it for pictures. Similarly, if you've got a group of people who are perhaps visually impaired, it's not going to be of much use to them. It can just be a bit formal. So if you're trying to get a lot of interaction with your audience, or trying to get them to talk through things, having something on the screen that's really structured can almost discourage that. And because it's so prepared and formalised for you, there's always the risk that you're just going to sit and read off a slide. And you've probably all had situations at some point in your life where you've been sat in a class or a lecture of some sort and somebody's just sat and read off a slide to you, and it's not productive. You go to sleep because it's just reading. Are you listening to what the person's saying, or are you reading what's on the slide? And on a similar vein, if you put too much on each slide, or if you've got loads of text, it's confusing for the audience. Are you expecting them to listen to you, or are you expecting them to sit and read that? And what is the point in just talking, reading off the slide, when they could have done that themselves? So you need to be really careful you're not overcomplicating your slides. It should just be there as a prompt with the key words, not like a script, essentially. You have, of course, also got to have the facilities to be able to use a PowerPoint, so some kind of projection. At most places, particularly if you're going to any kind of educational institution or like some kind of organised group, they've probably got the facilities to do that. You can also take it with you, because you can take a laptop and you get these tiny wee projectors really quite easily on the internet. And similarly, that's something that your health promotion department might be able to let you borrow. So you're probably going to be able to do it. But say, for example, you don't know what you're going to. You've just got to turn up and see what's there. Obviously, you need like an electricity supply and stuff. So it might not be suitable to use in that environment. So yeah, there's a mixture of positives and negatives with PowerPoint. It's used a lot, and for good reason, because it is useful in a face-to-face setting. However, it's probably overused and is a bit of a crutch for people. And you write that PowerPoint and you keep using it year in, year out, and that's obviously not ideal. Second thing I want to think about videos, which is quite apt because that's what you're watching at the moment. Videos are really useful in that people can do it in their own time. So if you cannot get the group of people together that you're trying to talk to all in one go, if you produce a video, it's got the same benefits of a face-to-face presentation in that they're hearing and seeing you. So you've got, they can understand, sometimes it's just easier to understand things when people say it as opposed to reading it. You know, you get tone and intonation. So you've got all those benefits of a face-to-face without actually having to all be in one place at one time. And that's the great thing about videos. Also, you can have it so different people can watch different parts depending on who you're aiming it at. So if you've created one video for a big group of people, but you could say for example, you're talking to, I don't know, the staff in a doctor's surgery, you could say, well, maybe the first 10 minutes are most suitable for the nurses, the second 10 minutes for the doctors, the third 10 minutes for the nurse practitioner, and that type of thing. So you can almost have it in chapters, and people can either watch the whole thing or they can just watch what's relevant to them. They're generally quite attractive and easy to deal with. You know, it's not seen as requiring a huge amount of effort from the participant potentially. So for all those reasons, video is a pretty good option for a lot of settings. You could also, of course, still produce a video or use an existing video within a face-to-face setting. You know, you could have a small section where you say, right, we're going to watch this video now, and then you can all have a talk about it. So it's applicable in numerous settings. In terms of disadvantages, I suppose the obvious one is people might say it's difficult to produce videos or expensive to. And if you'd asked me 6 months ago, I'd have probably said the same thing. However, having discovered various different things last summer that we can use, I can assure you it is neither difficult nor expensive. So the software that I'm using right now, for example, is Smart, so the same people that make smart boards and stuff like that. Smart Notebook. It isn't a free download, to be fair, but it is available quite easily. And it has the option to, as you can see, record your screen and also record sound. And there is also the option to put a video of my face in the corner, but I just don't really think you need that for this setting. And I'm just recording this either with the camera or the microphone that's on your laptop, or you can have an add-on if you don't have one available. So it's not particularly difficult to do. And then in terms of editing, again, I just use Windows Movie Maker, which is on most Windows Office packages. If I show you on this, oh, I've gone past it. Here we go, Movie Maker. And you just literally take whatever film you have, put it in there, and then you can edit it and chop it up, or you can stick multiple videos together. Sometimes if you're filming a long thing, it is easier to do it in clips and put them together, or you might find clips elsewhere and be able to put them together. Save it as a media file, and then that's yours to use. You can put it on YouTube, you can just send it via email and that type of thing. So although you might think actually that videos are not great because they're difficult to produce, they're not really. It just takes a bit of time. However, other downsides, obviously you're relying on the viewer to actually go ahead and access it. You can't check as such that they've learned anything from it without going to them at a later date and asking them how it was. So there's no real-time discussion. There's also no interaction. And although in the video you can say, if you'd like to pause it here and do this activity, they're not necessarily going to do that. So it's not great in terms of allowing your audience to participate in the learning as they go along. The next thing I want to think about is Smartboard, or C-Touch, or a similar kind of touch screen media that you can use. I'm a big fan of this type of media because it's buildable and interactive. So I'm sat here with a blank screen at the moment. Because I'm using smart technologies here, I can basically turn my laptop into a smart board, which is probably not the way you would use it in a face-to-face setting, but it's good if you're using it for video or some other media online, for example. So I can just add to this as and when I feel is appropriate, and I can do it in various different ways. So I can type on it, there's a pen, I'm using a mouse to do this, so it's obviously if you were using it on an actual smartboard or a C-Touch, you would have a pen which you would write with, which I don't have, but you've got multiple options available to you in terms of how you can build the content, and it can be really, really relevant to what you're doing. So one class, although you're sticking to the same lesson plan, depending on the interaction you get from your audience, you could end up with a completely different learning resource that's appropriate for them, and therefore it's really good for adapting to different learning styles and to different audiences. It's got other really useful features, like for example, if you're dealing with an image, you can highlight it, or you can draw arrows to point at things, all that type of stuff. So yeah, you can use this smartboard, C-Touch, that type of thing. You can also build it into other formats. For example, what I'm doing for you just now, this is a video, but I'm using smart technologies to do it. So it's really useful from that point of view. However, from a disadvantage point of view, you obviously need the technology and also the know-how or the training to use it. And most of these things are expensive. And also, you're not really going to carry them around with you. Although, like I say, you do have the option to use these things on your laptop. But if, for example, the best thing is if you're going into schools or a college or a university and other type of learning environments, most of them have these type of things already. But you would need to check in advance. There's no point in planning your session and then turning up and being like, oh, you haven't got what I was planning. So you've got to have access to it. And it might be that the audience you're dealing with are a wee bit overwhelmed by it. So if, for example, you're dealing with, I mean, the classic example would be a group of elderly people, maybe in a care home or something. They may get distracted by the sort of innovative side of things and be a bit more focused on what your computer screen's doing rather than what you're actually trying to say to them. So just be aware of that. There are, of course, less technological options for this type of thing. I mean, if we go back, let's call it old school, you've got an old-fashioned whiteboard that you write on with a pen and then you wipe off, or a flip chart with paper. And these things will both give you a similar outcome. They're maybe not going to look as flashy, but they're still really good for drawing diagrams, for asking your audience to interact. In fact, you might argue that they're better for asking your audience to interact. Your audience may feel more comfortable to write with a pen on a board than they would with a stylus on a whiteboard or a C-touch. So, you know, they're totally still available to you, and they're cheaper, and they're maybe more readily accessible depending on the environment that you're speaking to. Flashcards are an option that you've maybe not thought about, and they're certainly not suitable for all settings, but what they can be really good for is using to help people, to help sort of test knowledge or evaluate your learning. So what I mean by a flashcard is basically multiple pieces of paper. They've got one thing written on one side and something else written on the other. So for example, if you're using it for a quiz, you can have a question written on one side and ask your audience to answer and then flip it over, and obviously your answer's on the other side. They're also really good as a sort of take-home resource for people. Obviously, they're easy to produce. You can do them, you know, electronically and print them off. You can do them just in pen. People can create their own flashcards as well as a result of what you've taught them. You could do it as a task within your session. So although they may not be the only basis of the only resource in your whole method, they can certainly be useful. And I just wanted to show you something called Quizlets, which is an online flashcard kind of tool. Now, you guys can use this as a student. You just need to, when you go to the initial page, you just log in with your UHI login. And basically, you input information into it. I'm not going to tell you how to use it because you can work out for yourselves, but input information into it, and then you can use these, what we call study sets, and create random flashcards from it. So for example, this is one I did for biomedical sciences about nerve impulses. And it's going to give me a description that I've put in. So for this one, loss of sodium ions from the cell and influx of potassium ions. And if we flip it round, you'll have the answer to there, which would be repolarization. And it will do this from any information that you've inputted, basically. So these are quite good if you have something available to you, like a big screen, and you can put them on the screen and you can use them that way. Probably a wee bit more professional looking than using a bit of paper and a pen, potentially. However, you could make big ones and have them laminated if you're doing it on paper format, and that would still look as good. But Quizlets, it's just Quizlet.com, that's a really good way of doing that. As an aside, you can also use it to create like wee games and quizzes and things with the information that you've put in. So what I'm talking about here is leaflets, so information leaflets in one form or another. We all know that when we're speaking to patients in the surgery, they don't necessarily take in everything that we say there and then. And it's exactly the same if you're speaking to an audience. You need something to take home. Similarly, you may be in a situation where you actually don't have much time to talk to people. Maybe you've just got a stand somewhere and people are passing by. You're going to just give them really, really brief information, and then you could give them something to take home. And leaflets are probably the best thing that you can use from that point of view. They can look really nice, and they can contain a suitable amount of information. So I've kind of got two different ones here. This is your traditional, like, in a stand type leaflet, but these are really good. These are little information tear-off sheets. They come on a big pad and you tear them off, and so you can just, depending on the subject that you were talking about, you can just give them to take away to people. The thing with leaflets, though, is they have to look professional. If it's, you know, not in a good quality paper, or it is spelling mistakes or typos or inappropriate punctuation and stuff like that, it just looks unprofessional, which makes the information seem unimportant. So I would strongly advise you against producing your own leaflets or information sheets. There is nothing that you are going to be speaking to patients about that you cannot get a leaflet about produced professionally, whether that be from your local health promotion department or from people like the British Dental Health Foundation. And yes, you might have to pay a little bit of money for them once you have moved on from the school, but they're not particularly expensive in terms of the grand scheme of things, and they are absolutely worth it. So if you're looking to use leaflets for these visits that you will do this semester, then we should be able to provide them for either from the health promotion department or from the school. Nobody's expecting you to pay for them at the moment, but you may need to afterwards. The other thing with stuff like this is, do people just walk out the door and drop it on the ground or put it in the bin? And therefore it's a bit of a waste of money. But hopefully, if you've sparked the seed enough in their mind, then the information you've given them will be relevant to you. They are of little benefit just to say to your audience, oh yeah, you should probably stop smoking, here's a leaflet. They're probably not going to read that. But if you've given them a bit of background and a bit of a prompt, then they can be really helpful. Posters is the next one. Really visually appealing and striking. They grab your attention. They can be placed in strategic areas where you're going to get a lot of footfall, so in a foyer, in a common room, staff room, that type of thing. And they really can spark people's minds. We often use really sort of clear, sharp images. I mean, there's no getting away from the fact that that poster is talking about keeping your teeth clean, and this one is talking about how to wash your hands. You can also sometimes potentially use shock tactics with them, and things like smoking cessation adverts, for example. Some of those posters, side of a bus, big, huge, unpleasant image, and it just kind of sparks people's imagination and gets them thinking. And a well-produced poster can be hugely successful in being your initial starting point for people making inquiries. However, they're unlikely to be your only learning resource that you're going to use, whatever method of oral health promotion you've chosen to use, because by their very nature they cannot contain enough detail. I mean, even this poster here, which is about hand washing, it's really great in that it tells you how to do it in a very basic format, but there's no information on why or how we know it works and all that kind of stuff. So it's insufficient to get the entire message over, but they're good as a starting point. An overcomplicated poster isn't really much use. Loads of text on it, people will just walk past it. It's too complicated. That's not the point in the poster. It should grab your attention. So if they're overcomplicated, they're going to not be effective. But they're certainly good for a starting point. This is a display board that one of my colleagues here in Stornoway created for going to a parents' night at a school. And display boards are great for exactly that purpose. If you're going to some kind of event where you're not the only person there, and you're wanting people to come over or to grab people's attention so that they can come and gather information, they're a great thing to use. They're also good if you know that there's going to be lots of people around and you're not going to be able to talk to everybody at the same time. So it gives somebody something to look at and things to learn whilst you're busy doing something else. Really easy to produce a good eye-catching display board, and health promotion departments have loads of these boards. Obviously you need to put the resources together potentially to put on them, but the boards themselves are 10 a penny in hospitals and in health promotion departments, and they're a really good talking point. However, on the other side of things, they can be either oversimplified and boring and therefore not grabbing your attention, or they can be really distracting. So I would advise against using a display board in a background if you're trying to talk to a big group of people at once, because they're not listening to you necessarily, they're looking at what's on your board. But a good thing to use if you're looking to distract people, if you're trying to engage people in their own learning, but not if you want them to stand and listen or sit and listen to you. So they can be distracting. So just make sure you're using them in the appropriate setting. And also make sure whatever you put on them looks professional. Going back to what I was saying about the leaflets and the posters, if you've got a piece of paper that you've drawn on with a felt tip pen, unless you are an amazing artist, is that going to look very good? Is it going to stress the importance of the message that you're putting over? So just make sure that what you're putting on them is good. It does help to laminate whatever's going on them. It looks more professional, but it also means you can use them multiple times. So I would advise you to do that if you're planning on using a display board. And it probably is going to be appropriate for some of the OHP that you guys are going to do this semester. Props can certainly be very helpful. These images that I've got here are from our Child Smile weeks that we run in NHS West Wales, hence why the faces are blanked out. I do have permission to use these photos from the parents, however, there are children involved, so I thought it would just be best just to anonymise them just in case. And that is something to note, to be fair, when you're producing resources. If they have people in them, you need the permission of the people that are in that image to be involved. And children is a difficult one to work with. So if you can avoid having pictures of kids, I would do. It depends on what you're talking to. Anyway, props. So we've got our friend Harry the horse here, who unfortunately is missing a few of his teeth these days. But we've also got big toothbrushes. You can see there's different puppets in the background there. There's a wee kid off the side of here with giant teeth. But not just for kids as well, even if you're talking about adults. Obviously, in a one-to-one setting, we want to put a toothbrush in a patient's mouth and make it applicable to them. But if you are working on a big scale, you are going to struggle to get, say, for example, 100 people to put a toothbrush in their mouth and learn how to do it there and then. So a model can be really good from that point of view. Obviously, the bigger the audience, the bigger the model you're going to need, so you can make sure they can see, what it is that you're talking about. But props in general can be really, really useful. Again, these are available for your health promotion departments. Disadvantages side, they can be expensive, obviously, particularly things like the puppets. Again, access the resources that are available to you, and hopefully you won't have to actually buy them. You can just borrow them from the appropriate places. They also can be distracting, particularly for children. Are they listening to the message you're giving them, or are they just faffing about with a toy? So you need to work hard to keep this relevant, to make sure that this wee man stood here with the toothbrush is actually learning a toothbrushing technique that's appropriate for their age, rather than just playing with a toy like they would with anything else. So make them valuable, make it relevant. It's not just a toy. It's a wee bit easier with adults, obviously, although you'd be surprised. If you take a set of models to a group of adults, maybe it's a smaller group, so you just take a little set and pass them round, they can be amazed by these models more than what you're talking about. So use them in the right setting and in a controlled way. And then the last one I'm going to talk about in any detail is a website. And websites are great because you can produce them easily and really cheaply, if not free, but they reach such a huge wide audience. So in terms of creating a website, this is the National Smile Month website here, which I've got from the British Oral Health Foundation, but you can really easily find website builders. In fact, this is the website that I've got linked there, and you can get a huge amount of information on it without it being overload, and people can come and go with it whenever they want to use it. So, I mean, you can see there's a lot of this on here, but we've got key messages in bold and then more information underneath. Whereas, say, with a poster or a leaflet, you might just have the key messages. This we can provide the more information because we've got the space to do it. You do, however, need to get the link out to people, obviously. There's no point in just having a website and just leaving it there. you've got to make that link available to people, you've got to let people know, but you can easily just send emails, although as we all know, sometimes when you get a mass email, you just delete it and don't read it. So you need to think about how you're going to get people to this website, how you're going to get footfall. It also, again, similar to like when we talked about videos, it's really much relying on your audience to access the material by themselves. If this is your only method of learning, which is possible, but if it's your only method of learning, you need to make them really interactive. And that's where you can utilise other things that we've talked about already in this session. You could have videos on there, you could use the online flashcards, you could have leaflets and posters to download. So it can be a really good way of disseminating other learning resources as well. So potentially more of a method than a resource. But I've included it here because I want you to know that it isn't necessarily difficult to create it and it isn't expensive. This is a free website builder. It's just one randomly that I found. I couldn't tell you if it's any good or not because I haven't used it. But you just log in and then you can produce your own website from there using really quite straightforward images. You can also, of course, make use of social media. So Facebook. Anybody can create a Facebook page or group, and you can invite people to use it, which is another great advantage of using something like Facebook. You can use Twitter or Instagram to advertise your page once you've created it. So utilise social media. It's a powerful tool, and it's something that I think, other than advertising, I mean, you see lots of dental practices advertising on Facebook, but I don't think it's being utilised to a good extent for actual health promotion. And I think that's something that you could explore potentially a bit more when you're looking at different methods of providing oral health promotion. So going back to our presentation then, ultimately, whatever the learning resource you use, there are certain things that you need to stick to. It needs to give clear messages. Confusing resources are no use to nobody. They either make people feel like they're not clever enough to understand it, which obviously isn't true, or they turn people off. They're just not interested, it's too much, I haven't got time, and they walk away. They obviously need to be eye-catching. People like pretty things. It's in our nature. Professional looking. Professionally produced, if that's possible, by utilising resources that are available to us, or if you are producing something yourself, make sure it looks professional. They need to be audience appropriate. What's suitable for a group of elderly people will not necessarily be suitable for a group of medical professionals, which will not necessarily be suitable for a group of young children. So when you've done your needs assessment, you'll have come to a conclusion as to what would be appropriate in terms of your learning resources. They need to be within whatever budget you have. That budget may be zero, or it may be thousands of pounds, depending on what your role is and where you're working. And lastly, but super importantly, they have to be evidence-based. You can't just put your own opinion on there. It's the same with all dentistry. We have to be able to back up the comments or the ideas or the suggestions we're giving with suitable evidence base, and people will ask for it. So make sure that you know where it's come from and it's available if anybody wants further information on your evidence base. So like I said at the beginning, this list is by no means exhaustive and there are other learning resources available to you. I just wanted to give you a bit of a run through of the positives and negatives of the more common ones. So your task for this session, as you'll see on Facebook, is to at least plan your learning resources for your oral health promotion groups that you've been working on all along. So young adults, the new mums or nursing mothers group, and also the elderly or carers or special needs group. Think about the different learning resources you produce. If you already know what your OHP visits are, then you can start producing them. If you're still waiting to find out, then just have a plan in mind as to what you can do. Also, you need to contact the people that I've given you the details for at Health Promotion so that they can advise you on what they've got available. And it will be different in different sites, it's just the nature of the game, but it'll allow you to get an idea of where you're at. And also, looking around the centres that you're in. particularly for things like posters and leaflets. The places are covered in them. Make sure you have asked the appropriate person if you can have them, obviously, but there's lots of there available to you. Don't feel like you have to make stuff from new. That's not the aim of the game. I'm not assessing you on your artistry skills. It's about your ability to utilise what's there. Thank you very much for watching.